And yeah, they're going to be talking about training the chimp today. No clue what goes in it, but excited to hear from the two of you. So can you hear me? Sorry, I just.
We can hear you well.
Okay. All right, so we can start. Thank you once again, and we'll keep the questions preferably for later on, if that's okay.
Sure,
Over
sure.
to you guys.
Thank you, Sanjana, for the lofty introduction, and also for everybody else. Raises the expectations for us. So hopefully we'll be able to speak something that's useful. I met Sanjana on the India trip. We do a trip from here every year. It's called a Mystic India trip. So she was there, and actually until the last day or last couple of days, I don't think I actually knew that you were also on that yoga course. We only found out in the last couple of days, and it was nice. It was good fun. The best part of that yoga course was going up that hill. Remember that? That was good fun. Anyway, we can talk more about that later. Should we do a kirtan or should we skip the kirtan? I'm thinking maybe at the end if there's time, because it's already 12 here. So maybe at the end, isn't it? We'll just speak a little bit about the mind, because the mind is a very important aspect in the practice of Krishna consciousness. And it's a very important topic because sometimes we don't give enough importance to the mind. We normally just say that, okay, just chant Hare Krishna, everything will be okay. That's our sort of default answer to everything. But even though on one level, yes, it does work like that, but another level, it's also slightly different. It's like, for example, if someone stubs their toe, or if someone breaks their leg, you don't just say just chant Hare Krishna, it'll be fine. You go to a doctor and you do something about it. But if someone's got problems in the mind, then we say, don't worry, Prabhu, just chant Hare Krishna, it'll be okay. But why? The mind is also no different. The body is a physical sort of body, and the mind is part of the subtle body. So just like you look after the physical body, it's also very important to look after the mind. So we just thought this may be a good topic to speak about. I'm no expert. I'm just sharing things that I've learned over my practice, and hopefully we'll be able to share something that you find useful. Is that good? Okay, that was my little intro. Now, first of all, to start, I would like you to imagine your favorite monkey. Okay, you can meditate on your monkey if you want. You can close your eyes, whether it's a monkey from Vrindavan or it's a monkey from
a cartoon.
from a cartoon, Mojo Jojo from Powerpuff Girls, or whether it's an orangutan from David Attenborough series. Imagine your favorite monkey. Now, that monkey, whoever that monkey is, if that monkey was drunk, okay, I don't know how he would get drunk, but if that monkey got drunk, imagine how he would be. Monkeys are already known to be very notorious. Okay, when I was in Vrindavan, I got my glasses stolen by monkeys 3 times, and I was on guard 24 hours every time I go out, and still 3 times I managed to get my glasses, and twice I actually got it back, but the third time, once I actually lost my glasses. So they are very, it's what's going on with a monkey, you don't know. They're very unpredictable. But imagine that monkey that's drunk. So he's already like nasty and mischievous, and now it's a drunk monkey. And then imagine that drunk monkey has been bitten by a scorpion. Okay, and this drunk monkey that's bitten by a scorpion is now even more frivolous and nasty. And imagine that drunk monkey that's bitten by a scorpion that's haunted by a ghost. Okay, so it's completely crazy. So that is how our mind is. And that's not an analogy that I made up. That is stated by Chanakya Pandit. He was a great philosopher, sort of scholar. He wasn't a devotee, but he was a good philosopher. So he explained that that's how the mind is. Okay, so it's very like notorious. So for this whole presentation, when we talk about training the chimp, we're talking about training the monkey mind. Okay, so we're going to go with this analogy of how you would train your monkey to be helpful for you. We don't want to just control the monkey We want to train the monkey so it's actually useful. Believe it or not, everybody's got one. Everybody's got a mind. So it's almost like somebody gave you a pet as a gift, a pet monkey. Okay. So now you got this monkey with you, and somehow or the other, you don't just have to live with that monkey, you have to sort of manage the monkey, and you have to kind of make good use out of it as well, and you have to make it your friend. So that's what life is all about. Okay, it's about managing your monkey, it's about training the chimp. And how do you go about that? That's what we'll talk about today. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains in chapter 3, I think somewhere, Krishna explains that the mind can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. Okay. Now, if I ask you the same question, is the monkey your friend or your enemy? Then what would you say? It's neither. It's just a monkey. Okay. It's not good or bad. It's just a monkey. So our mind is also like that. Our mind is neither good nor is it bad. Sometimes you may say, Prabhu, my mind is like so filled up with so much stuff. Do you get that sometimes? Like there's so much going on in our mind. We keep worrying about so many things. We can't focus. Sometimes the mind is very, very negative, and we say, my mind is really bad. No, it's not. It's that's the nature of the mind. So first thing is to realize there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, that's just how it is. That's how monkeys are. Okay, they're notorious. um, so that's the first thing to realize. It's neither good or bad. Now, second thing, let me ask you a question. If I ask you, what is the mind? Okay, how would you define the mind? What is the mind? Okay, we all have one, but what is it? What would you say? You can maybe unmute yourself and speak. We can make it a bit interactive, or you can type in the comments. What do you think is the mind? Anybody? Sounds like
Full of thoughts.
it's thoughts. Okay, and where do the thoughts come from? Is the mind thoughts, or is the mind coming up with thoughts?
The mind is full of thoughts, and it's coming from, I guess, whatever we do, whether we're sleeping our dreams or whether that's what we're listening to, what we're seeing, everything, right? Even if I'm sitting with myself, I've got thoughts. If I'm talking to you, I've got some thoughts, which is why I'm able to talk to you, I guess.
So the mind is coming up with thoughts. Okay, good. But how do you define the mind? If I ask you for a definition of mind, what is it?
Is it a reflection of what we feed into our body? What we feed into our gross body, is it a reflection of that in some
Very
sense?
good point. Very good point. Whatever you feed your gross body definitely has an influence on the mind. Yeah, for sure. Um, so there's different ways you can look at it. Now, according to science, science doesn't acknowledge that there's a mind. Basically, science says there's a brain, and how you got neurons firing in your brain depends what sort of thoughts you get. How your memory is created is another set of neurons. Firing of neurons creates different chemicals, and so we feel in a certain way. This is sort of the scientific definition of the mind. But in Vedic understanding, we don't really go by that sort of definition. What the Vedas say is that the mind is an element. Okay, just like your body is made up of 5 different elements. Okay, there is earth, there is water, there is fire, there is air, and there is ether. 5 things. So all the solid things you see is earth. Then there's water in our body, definitely. Then there's air. Some of us know it more than others. There's a lot of air in our body. We breathe air. Then there's fire, fire of digestion, your body temperature, that represents fire. And ether, ether is something that carries sound. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, this is what the body is made up of. It's a sort of different style of classification. So just like that, the mind is also an element, okay? And another 2 elements are defined in the Vedas that everybody have is intelligence, and another element is called the ego. So we are different from all of these elements. We're different from these 8 elements. Okay, 5 of which are physical elements and 3 are subtle elements, but neither of this is us. So the mind is also an element, just like earth is an element or fire is an element. Um, the only difference is that the mind stays with you uh, through different bodies as you travel, whereas the physical elements change. When a person dies, the physical elements decompose, the earth mixes with earth, water, fire, air, whatever. But the subtle elements actually go with you. They go with the soul to the next body. So the mind is also an element, and you can recognize these 3 elements in how they perform, how they work. And we'll kind of look at it a little bit, but it's very easy to tell. If you just know the signs, you'll be able to tell, all right, this is the mind, I know. This is the intelligence, I know. This is the ego. Okay, you clearly know by these thoughts which one is which, okay, as we will see. Um, but the important point that we want to say is you are not the mind. How do you feel when I tell you that, Kishori?
Hare Krishna, everyone. So, yeah, I mean, when I was first told that I'm something different from my mind or that I'm not my mind, it was such a relief for me because I had never heard this concept before. So, when I was first told that actually you are not the mind, you're something different from your mind, you're something far, far greater than that, it was such a relief because it meant that I didn't have to identify with that anymore. So all these random thoughts that I may have, all these negative thoughts that I may be having, whatever else the monkey mind is throwing at me, it was such a relief to know that actually that's not me. And I think that's why this understanding the chimp is so important because the mind is something, although it's not us, it's something that we have to live with, right? So if we can understand our mind, if we can understand how it works, how we can influence it, how we can train that monkey to be our best friend, then it's going to make our life so much easier, both materially and spiritually. And like Prabhu was saying, it's like, you know, we have 2 train tracks. So one is our spiritual life, but the other train track is our mental well-being. And if we're not taking care of this simultaneously, then the spiritual life can become harder. Of course, they both help each other, and bhakti yoga is so powerful that it can override the monkey's difficulties. But at a certain stage, we do have to focus on both of those train tracks so that they can help each other. You know, so it's important to look at all aspects of our life and our spiritual life as well. And that's why understanding what is the mind, how can I control it, what influences it, these things are really amazing tools to have in our toolkit. So
Yeah, and we're not the mind.
Yeah, which is great news.
Which is great. Yeah, I would rather not be my mind
Yeah.
than. Imagine you're at a cinema. Okay, now I'm sure you all watched movies in the cinema. I'm sure you get movies, cinemas in Dubai, wherever you go. And say you're sitting down and watching your favorite movie, whatever that movie is, whether it's Captain America or
Lion King.
or the Lion King or whatever it may be. Say you're watching a movie. Okay, let's say you're watching the Lion King, and then Simba's there on screen. And
Actually,
then,
we went to watch The Lion King, but I fell asleep.
I can't believe you fell asleep.
I'm not a movie person.
Lion King is like every child's dream.
I like The Lion King, but I was tired. Maybe I woke up too early that day.
They fell asleep is an insult. Anyway, say you're watching the Lion King, and Simba's there, and Simba is say he's chased away from his kingdom, and then you're sitting there, and then say you start crying. Okay, you may not cry for the Lion King, but imagine whatever movie you're watching and you start crying. Now, why are you crying? You know that it's made in a computer. It's a computer generated imagery. Okay, it's CGI animation. Or you know that these actors are just making up a story. Okay, they're all acting. As soon as the camera goes, switches off, they wipe the tears and they go home. It's fake tears. So why are you crying? It's fake. Well, the reason we're crying is that we've literally made so much connection and association with it, and we sort of identify with those personalities. Okay, that's what
Emotionally.
they do emotionally. Yeah, that's what they do in American movies. So if you watch an American movie, it doesn't just go straight to the fight. It's first they introduce the character, all the little things the characters do, so you kind of start you start feeling like he's my
What
friend.
about Bollywood movies? I've never
Oh.
watched one, so I'm just curious how they work.
Okay, let's not talk about Bollywood. So anyway, what
I
the-
might start watching them so I can learn Hindi. That's
It's
my
like
plan.
Bollywood's literally ruined India. Um, what India had been invaded. India has been invaded for like 5,000 years. Like and for like hundreds of years they were like Genghis Khan and the Mughals and everybody, and then there was the British for like 300 years or whatever. And what they couldn't do in 1,000 years, Bollywood's done in 50 years. Like literally just ruined the country. Anyway, sorry. That's
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
I didn't mean to ruin Bollywood for you. But anyway, the point is that you associated with that character on screen so much, even though
Right.
you know
Mm.
that you start crying when something wrong happens to them. So the point is that you're not the screen though. You're not the screen, you're looking at the screen. If there's something going on in your mind and you can think about it, you can feel it, it's not you, it's just you, it's like a screen. But it's because you associated with it so much, you start thinking, this is me.
You're absorbed in it.
You're absorbed in it so much. Okay, and that is why it's very, very important to understand that we're not the mind, we're the soul. Okay, we're spiritual beings, and we're not going to go into that so much because you know that already. But I think Kishori has a little bit of exercise.
Do we have time? You want to do it?
Why not? Yeah, just a couple of minutes.
Okay, sure.
Just a little bit of anyway. You speak about
So we're going to do something practical. I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit interactive and practical. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through a very short guided meditation. And what this is going to do is help us to actually realize that we are something separate from our mind. So I thought it would be a bit of fun to do. So to do that, just come into a comfortable seated position, whatever that is for you. Get yourself nice and comfortable, and we'll have a little bit of relaxation. So sitting in your comfortable position, and begin to focus on your breath. Not trying to force anything, but allowing your breath to be just as it is. Maybe you notice as you inhale through the nose, the air is slightly cool. And as you exhale, it comes out that little bit warmer. And just paying attention to your breath. And begin to relax your body. So you can start by relaxing your tongue and your jaw, your eyes and your eyebrows. Allow your forehead to release and relax and your hairline to roll back. Relax your shoulders down. Bring your awareness down your right arm, all the way into your fingertips, really allowing each and every muscle to release and relax. Moving up through your right arm, through that chest and down your left arm now, again, all the way into those fingertips. Breathing back up into your chest and bring your awareness down towards your stomach now. As you inhale, allow your belly to expand. And as you exhale, it releases. This is nourishing your internal organs and your digestive system and allowing us to get more oxygen into the body. Bring your awareness now into your hips and into both your legs, moving all the way down to your feet and your toes, allowing both legs to feel heavy and relaxed. And just enjoying these few moments. Now, what you may start to notice as there are more gaps in what I am saying and there is more silence apart from this droning in the background, you may start to notice that your monkey mind starts to come up with certain things. There may be certain thoughts that come into your mind. And during meditation, that is very normal because after all, the mind is like a drunken monkey. So we can only expect it to throw out these thoughts, these random thoughts that maybe aren't relevant to what we're trying to do. So take a few moments now. I'll give you a few moments to see if we can observe our thoughts. And we are observing them with curiosity and non-judgment. An example is given, like if you're sitting on the side of a motorway and you're observing all the cars that are driving past you. And that's what we're doing, we're observing the cars. But if you then decided to chase after all the cars that you saw as they drove by, it probably wouldn't end up very well. You may get worn out, you may even get run over, who knows? So that's what we're trying not to do. So simply observing the thoughts that may come, allowing them to come in and float out. Even any noises that you may hear around you, see if you can simply observe them. Now begin to wriggle your fingers and your toes and bring your awareness back into your bodies. And when you're ready, start to rub your hands together, the palms of your hands, rubbing them together. Placing your hands over those eyes, take a deep breath in and out. Allow your hands to come to heart center. And to finish off, I would like you all to think of 3 things that you're most grateful for today, no matter how big or small that might be. And when you're ready, bring your hands down, bring the shoulders up to the ears and down the spine. Opening your eyes when you're ready and just observing how you feel, noticing did any thoughts come into your head and were you able to kind of just observe them without acting on them, without chasing them if you like. And I know there was a lot of noises going on in the background as well, so were you able to just observe those, or how did you find it? And if anyone wants to let us know how you found that, if that's the first time you've done anything like that, or maybe you practiced this kind of mindful meditation before, let me know how you found it and how you got on. When you were typing in the chat box, or just unmute yourself, we'd love to hear. Don't be shy.
Okay.
I think Shonik, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, not really. I just think, yeah, quite a few people are shy. They have their videos off, where I think this is sort of like a more interactive session.
Yeah.
I know Shivani and Vaishnavi, so I've just texted them to sort of turn on their videos.
Oh, well, thank you for having a video on. We don't mind. Obviously, that's one of the good things about online classes, that you can just hide behind your camera, and that's totally fine. But it would be nice to see you as well.
Yeah. But Sanjana, are you trying to unmute yourself?
I can share something. Yes. I actually haven't done this in a long time. So thank you so much, Kishori. It's like I've forgotten about it. And just 2 days ago, actually, my colleague was talking about this app Inside Timer. And I used to use it years ago. And I was telling her I can't sleep at night. Like no matter what I do, even if I chant, I can't go to sleep. Like I've probably because of some stress at work. But I think this finally like actually did it with you, and I felt so good. So it's a reminder that, you know, along with mantra meditation, I think I do need some time also, you know, just a few minutes, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes to just breathe and live, like be in the present moment. So it really felt good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Sanjana.
Thank you. Thank you. See, it's very important to know that every time we have a thought, we don't like start chasing it, because that's what a lot of us do. If you're sitting on the side of a motorway, and as soon as there are some cars, you jump in the middle of the motorway and start chasing those cars, you won't really catch any because they're quite fast and there's so many. So it's a bit like that. Meditation means you just sit on the side and observe your thoughts. You don't try to stop them. You don't try to chase them. You just observe them and let them go. And through this observation, you'll realize that it's not you. You're just the guy sitting on the side watching your thoughts. And so the mind is actually different from who we are.
It's like similar to, you know, when some of you are practicing mantra meditation and the mind wanders, we have to keep bringing it back, and we bring it back, and we bring it back to that sound vibration. And the analogy we were talking about earlier, which is quite a funny one, is about how we don't have to be like dogs, right? Like when someone throws a bone or throws a stick, the dog just goes and chases it, but we don't have to be like that. So every time our mind throws us a thought, if it's not helpful for us, then we don't have to run after it. So I thought that was quite a nice example.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's move on from that. We're not the mind.
Yes.
Now, how do you recognize the mind and how do you train it? Sorry, Ria, did you want to say something?
No, I think she's not, maybe forgot to mute herself.
Okay, all right. Okay, so how do you know what's the mind, and then what is the function of the mind? So first of all, the function of the mind, this element mind that we have, is to say yes and no based on how you feel. Okay, the mind is completely, the function of the mind is to just say yes, I like this, no, I don't like this. It's like an emotional entity. It's like a blob of emotion. And basically everything is it decides whether it wants something or it doesn't want something is based on whether it likes it or doesn't like it. There's no consideration of whether it's good for me in the long run or not, whether, you know, what consequences I'll have to face if I do that. The mind doesn't consider that, because the mind is an emotional entity, and all it does is say, yes, I like this, I don't like this, and it comes up with options and plans for you to achieve that. Like, for example, if you're walking down the road every single day past a jewelry shop and you see your favorite jewelry and you see it for days and days and days, then your mind is going to tell you, I like that, I want that, I like that, I want that. And then it'll give you different options. So what you can do is you can go and, you know, if you got the mind in the mode of goodness, then it'll say something like, you know, why don't we, you know, try and get some money and buy it. If you got a mind in the mode of passion and ignorance, it'll tell you, why don't you come at night, disable the CCTV cameras, try and break in and steal the necklace. So the mind will come up with so many different options, but basically its main goal is, I want that and I like it. And I don't like that and I don't want that. I hate that guy. I'm not going to talk to him. I like that guy. I want to talk to him. I want this. I want that. That's it, isn't it?
I think the mind also, it wants to enjoy, like it really likes to enjoy things. It wants to feel good. But sometimes it's like a child monkey or like a child, you know, we think that a certain thing is going to make us happy, but sometimes it doesn't. So the mind might see like a box of donuts and be like, oh my God, yes, I want this, let me eat them all. But then, you know, afterwards you might feel a bit sick and you may think, oh, I wish I didn't do that. So the mind is like that. It kind of automatically, it wants pleasure and it wants to help you and it wants to make you feel good, but oftentimes it doesn't know how to do it. So it needs to be controlled.
Yeah. So the mind needs controlling. And if you buy a monkey as a pet, okay, if you buy a monkey as a pet, you're not really responsible for the nature of the monkey.
Right.
The monkey is what it is. The mind that we have is not something that we've cultivated in this lifetime. It's something that's been with us for many, many lifetimes. So it is what it is. Okay. But you are responsible for managing your mind. That is still your responsibility. You're not responsible for the nature of the monkey, but you're responsible for managing it. Some of the common things that the mind does, okay, these are the characteristics, how you can recognize that this is the mind in action. First of all, the mind always jumps to an opinion. Okay,
What's an example of that?
And jumping to an opinion, as soon as somebody says, you know, you text somebody and they don't reply back, and the mind jumps to a conclusion.
Because they hate me.
They hate me. They don't like me. Why did they not reply? It's already been 8 seconds since I texted them, and you know, I sent them a message on WhatsApp.
Maybe they're dead.
The ticks went blue. I said,
Maybe they're having an affair.
Something like that. So the mind always jumps to conclusion. That's how you recognize the mind. Another thing that the mind does is it thinks in black and white.
Yes.
Okay, that's the function of the mind. Let me just mute my phone. Okay, the mind always thinks in black and white, yes and no. I like this, I don't like this. There's no in between ground. He likes me, he hates me. Okay, things like that. The mind is often very good at making things more catastrophic.
Yeah.
Okay, the world's coming to an end, everything's gone wrong. It's like finished now. You know, I haven't chanted my rounds in 3 days. My spiritual life is finished. I might as well leave the whole thing. I've broken one of the 4 principles. There's no point following all the other 3. So you know, it's like completely like the mind is catastrophical like that. The mind is also very, very irrational, of course, because all the mind is based on is it wants to just enjoy. So it's very irrational. It'll give you irrational ways to enjoy, even though they're not right. The mind is also based on a lot of emotive judgment. All the decisions are based on emotions and thoughts and feelings. I feel like this, hence I want to do this. I feel like this, hence I don't want to do this. Everything's based on that.
It's like that saying, do you follow your heart or your head? But actually it's kind of all mushed in one.
Yeah. So the mind is basically, it just wants you to enjoy regardless of whatever. And that's what all decisions are based on. And that's how you recognize the mind. It's like the monkey just wants to have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point is, if you just do everything the mind tells you, if you do everything the mind tells you, it won't be fun at all, because you'll end up in a lot of trouble. The monkey doesn't know when to say no to bananas. Okay, if you keep giving the monkey bananas, it'll keep eating it, and it won't stop. Yeah, you give it a banana, it'll eat it.
Hunger signal.
No, if you've seen the monkeys in Vrindavan, they have, you know, they kind of store, they take loads and they store them here, you know, and they'll keep eating and they'll take more. There's no, you know, there's no consideration of when to stop. A few months ago, a monkey escaped from a zoo in Brazil. And you know how they caught the monkey? They caught the monkey by using the oldest technique in the monkey catching book. Okay, it's basically what you do is you take a jar and you put a banana in it and you put it close to the monkey. And what the monkey does, he'll come along because he's seen the banana, put his hand in the jar, grab the banana, but then he can't get his hand out. Okay, and it can't let go of the banana. Because it's a monkey. So there's no thought of, okay, if I leave the banana, I'll get my hand out and then I can run away. So it's there like holding the banana and trying to like pull it out like that,
But he won't let go.
but he won't let go.
That's also like the power of letting go.
Yeah.
That's a different topic.
Yeah, so it's and then they call the monkey. Simple is you don't need to like chase the monkey with a tranquilizer. You just put a jar with a banana. A monkey doesn't know when to say no. So if you keep doing everything the mind tells you, you're gonna get stuck. You're gonna be in trouble. So it's very important to understand the mind and to say no. When you see all these signs coming up, you know it's the mind, and you can't follow it. More on this later. But we're coming to another very, very important entity, which sort of helps you balance what the mind is doing. And this is also something everybody has, and it's called the intelligence. Okay, everybody has it. Sometimes we meet people and we think some of them don't have it, but you're wrong, because everybody has it. It's just they're not utilizing it sometimes, but everybody's got intelligence as well. Now, intelligence tells you things that are good for your well-being, things that are good for the long term, things that may not be good for you right now, but it'll tell you, okay, you like that piece of jewelry. I know you really want it, but it may not be such a good idea to try and smash the window at night and grab that jewelry, because there is a CCTV camera, you are going to get caught, and it's just not worth it.
It's bad karma.
Yeah, I know you like chocolate cookies, but it may not be the best idea to have a whole pack in one go, because you might get sick. So that's the intelligence. The mind is telling you go and have as many cookies as you want, they're great. But the intelligence is telling you stop, stop, stop. I know it's fun, but no. Okay. So that's the intelligence. That's how you differentiate. And generally, your life is like a battle between your intelligence and your mind. Okay, the mind is going to tell you, yeah, cookie, 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 banana, 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 because it's a monkey and it just wants a banana. But you're in charge of the monkey, and you have to decide when the monkey stops, when you don't give a monkey a banana. Okay, you have to decide how many bananas the monkey gets. That's your responsibility. You're not responsibility for the monkey, but your responsibility for managing the monkey. Okay, Sanjana, I know you want cookies, but you can't have them. Okay, not now. So that's what life is. So your goal, okay, basically your goal is to not get bitten by the monkey while you're living with it, managing it, and at the same time try and put the monkey to good use.
That sounds really hard.
It is hard, but you got a monkey. It's not that hard. But you got a monkey. You're not responsible for the nature of the monkey. It is what it is. But you're responsible for managing it, giving it enough bananas to keep it happy, but not giving it too many bananas, and not just following the monkey around. You're meant to guide the monkey. The monkey is not meant to guide you and take you everywhere. Imagine you take your monkey on a walk and the monkey decides where you're going. Okay, you can't follow it because it's drunk, it's bitten by a scorpion, and it's haunted by a ghost. If you follow that monkey, you're going to be in big trouble, boy or girl. You're going to be in big, big trouble. So your life is to not get bitten by the monkey, and to manage it with the help of your intelligence.
And one thing as well to mention is that, it's not that the mind is necessarily a bad thing. It's not like we're saying, oh my God, you have this mind and it's crazy and you now have to deal with it. Not necessarily like that. It's just that we need to train it, that's all. And this isn't something that you learn in school. Well, I didn't anyway. This information is only really something that we can get to know after coming to spiritual life and learning this spiritual science. So it kind of sounds like we have this big scary mind that's in us, and it can be, but it can also be our best friend, like that saying, right? The mind can be either our best friend or our worst enemy. So it's about using our intelligence to help us make it our best friend.
Yeah. Okay. So now, why should we control the mind? Because managing the impulsive monkey is the biggest factor in determining how successful you will be in life. You know why? Because the mind is actually very, very important. It's the strongest force. Even though the intelligence is higher, even though the intelligence is more rational, it's more logical, it gives you good decisions, but ultimately it's the mind that drives you to do things, because the mind is an emotional entity, and it's emotions that drive action. You can't actually do something unless your mind is behind it. And we all have an example of this. We all have experience of this. Like the intelligence will say, yeah, it's the right thing to do. I should do it. It makes more sense, but you still don't do it. Why? There's a word for that. It's called procrastination. Okay. You go to work. Okay. You know, this is a list of things. I need to do it. It makes sense. If I don't do it, the boss is on my case. I'm not going to have time to do it. I'm going to get kicked out of my job. It's not a good impression. I need to do it, but still you don't do it because the mind is necessary. Emotion is necessary to perform an action. So even though the intelligence is higher, the mind is much, much stronger. And that's why it is necessary, it's totally necessary to control the mind, because based on how well you're about to control your mind, you're able to control your mind, that'll decide how successful you are in spiritual life or in life in general. You were going to say something?
I forgot now.
Okay. Okay, let me know when it comes back.
Sure.
So it's
oh, I remember now.
Go on.
I was at that point on procrastination.
Yeah.
And how usually the reason why we procrastinate is because it comes from a place of fear. And that goes back to your point. You were saying how our mind is very, very strongly connected with our emotions as well. So when we address that, then it can help with things like anxiety, depression, procrastination, all these things, because our mind is very much interlinked with our emotions. It's all part of the same bubble, lump.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So here's the thing. So how do you control the mind? How do you train the mind? And how do you deal with things? So there's two things to do. Well, first of all, the very first thing, the very, very important thing you need to do is you need to nurture the mind first. Okay. Before you start training it, you need to start nurturing it. What most people do is they don't do that part. They usually go, they go the hard line. They say, no, I don't want to do this. I have determination. I'm not going to let my mind do this. We usually somehow we just wired like that. We just try to go full against it.
Force.
Okay. You can't go full against and force the mind to do things. That's not the way it works. The first thing you have to do is you have to nurture the mind. Before you take money out of your account, okay, you have to put money in. Okay, that's the way it works. If you go to a bank, and tell them, can I borrow £5,000? Or, they'll be like, okay, but sir, you need to put some money into your account first because you don't have £5,000. So before you start saying no to your mind, you have to say yes to your mind. You have to look after the mind before you actually start telling it to do things. Back to the monkey analogy, and this is why it works so well. Chanakya Pandit wasn't just like coming up with cool things to say when he said the mind was like a monkey. The mind is actually like a monkey. To train the monkey, if you want the monkey to be quiet, you have to give the monkey bananas. Okay, you can't just say, no, monkey, sit down, you're not getting any bananas. No, you can't do that. The monkey ain't going to listen.
Yeah.
You have to give the mind bananas or cookies or whatever it is. You have to satisfy the mind. You have to make sure the mind is satisfied. But
in the right way.
The way you do it is, yes, you do it in the right way, and you have to do it the right amount of bananas. If you give the monkey too little bananas, it'll be hungry and it'll create problems. If you give the monkey too many bananas, you're going to spoil your monkey and it'll also create problems. You have to give it the right kind of bananas and the right amount of bananas. So the mind needs gratification, but it should be regulated and it should be done in the right way. So that's called nurturing the mind. So how do you nurture the mind? So first of all, I know that in Krishna consciousness, eventually, if you're new, then you'll come across it in the future. There's a lot of no's. Okay, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But what we need to do first is do the yes bits. Okay, we need to do all the good things to satisfy ourselves. Okay, and to satisfy the mind, and that's very, very important. We need to do more things in the mode of goodness. Okay, you need to give your mind bananas that are in the mode of goodness, not bananas that are in the mode of passion and ignorance. Now, I don't know if you read about the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, but it's all linked together. Okay, it's all linked in a certain way. For example, if you're trying to say control your intake of cookies, okay, because it's got too much white sugar in it, it's very bad for you.
There's nothing wrong with cookies, come on.
There's nothing wrong with cookies. I'm just giving you an example. Say if you got, you know, say you don't want to eat 20 cookies a day, okay, because they're really bad for your health because they got too much white sugar in it. Then what you need to do, you still need to eat cookies, but maybe you just eat 2 cookies and they got brown sugar in it. You see what I mean? You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So the mind does need to listen to music, but instead of saying, no, I'm trying to be more spiritual, so I'm not listening to music, you listen to spiritual music. The mind does need to
Read
have a bit of
something or
fun.
watch something as well, right?
Read something, watch something. The point is, if you're on the path of Krishna consciousness, and this is very, very, very important. If you're in the path of Krishna consciousness and practicing bhakti yoga, you have to make the process of bhakti fun. Okay, you can't make bhakti a dry process. If bhakti is not a process, even though there's rules and regulations, you can't do this, you can't do that, you should do this, you should do that. The mind does need gratification and enjoyment, and it is your responsibility to make your spiritual practice more enjoyable for yourself and others.
Right. So find what you love to do. Find what, lights your fire. Is that going to more kirtans? Is it cooking prasad, like cooking and offering it to others, offering it to the Lord as prasadam? Is it going on pilgrimage, going on these mystic India trips, or whatever it might be? So you do those things that nourish your Krishna consciousness and that are fun for you and that lights your fire, that keeps you wanting more and keeps you happy. And that may change over time as you change as a person, but I would say, yeah, it's very important to always stay in tune with that and make effort to make the time to do those things that you love, because we have to keep the mind entertained somehow. So might as well do it in the best way, which is in a spiritual way. And look, spiritual life is fun. Like, it's not a dry process. It's fun, guys. It's fun.
Yeah. And you may be thinking, oh, I'm already having a lot of fun in Krishna consciousness. But let me tell you, okay, and I'm telling you from my 15 years of experience in Krishna consciousness, you're having fun today, but give it another 3 years, give it another 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. There will be a time, there will undoubtedly, for everybody it comes, it has to come. And for everybody, there comes a time when you go, I don't want to do this anymore.
Maybe more than one time.
More than one time. Actually, many, many times you'll think, I don't want to do this anymore. Why am I practicing? Yeah, it's too much. Look at all the good things I used to do in the past, and now I can't do any of those. Why am I doing this to myself? Basically, that's your mind. Okay, and basically your monkey is starving because it hasn't had enough bananas. Because when you came to Krishna consciousness, you just took all the bananas away from your monkey. That's what you did. And so the monkey is saying, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And the monkey is strong. Okay, the mind is your strongest force, and it will convince you to leave Krishna consciousness and go away and do other things. And trust me, the number of people joining Krishna consciousness every day is a lot more than the number of people who stick it out and stay through it. There's people come and go. It's like the motorway. A lot of people go. Why? It's not that the process of bhakti is wrong. It's because when people come to Krishna consciousness, they stop feeding bananas to the monkey. So even though right now you may go away and think, what's the big deal? But if you play this class back to yourself in 5 years, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. So the mind, it is necessary to nurture the mind, and it is your responsibility to make the process of bhakti yoga fun. Okay, you have to also do more things in the mode of goodness, because the mind needs satisfaction one way or another. Okay, if you don't satisfy your mind in Krishna consciousness, your mind will find that satisfaction elsewhere. Okay, your mind needs that satisfaction. If you don't give your monkey bananas yourself, the monkey will go around and it'll find other things to eat, which may not be so good for the mind. So you have to make sure you keep your mind satisfied. Okay, it is very, very important. Do more things in the mode of goodness, especially, and one of the most important things is to have a strong spiritual practice, especially in the morning, because morning is a mode of goodness. And at least whatever time you may decide, whether it's 20 minutes, half an hour, or 2 hours, you decide how long you want to keep it. But it is important to regularly, and that word is very important, regularly stick to that time every single morning where you have a strong spiritual practice. Now, it can be chanting 1 round of Hare Krishna, It may be reading 10 minutes, and it may be like, I don't know, singing for 10 minutes, or it may be like, you know, meditating for 10 minutes, whatever it may be, or doing a bit of exercise, whatever it may be. But you need at least half an hour, or whatever time you decide, every single day. And that's very, very important. There's no point one day waking up and going, yeah, I feel really spiritual today, so today I'm going to, chant for 2 hours. And then next day you wake up and go, nah, I'm a bit late, so I'll just skip it. And you don't do anything for 3 days, then you do something for another 2 days. So no, better to keep a smaller practice if you can't, but sustain it.
And that's where actually with consistency, that's where the joy and the strength comes, and it's very, very empowering. And the more things you do like that, it actually strengthens the intelligence as well. And even scientifically, there's been many studies that have proven that the way we handle our mornings, or what activities we do in the morning, has a very, very direct impact on our rest of our day and how we're going to be for the rest of the day and how it may go. So that's why as well we emphasize to do those spiritual things in the morning, because that will charge you or recharge your batteries, and therefore you can take on whatever the day may throw at you.
Yeah, definitely. So morning practice is very, very important. Another thing you want to do, which is very, very important, is food. Okay. Now we all like food, I know.
This talk has all about monkeys and food.
Monkeys and food, yeah.
Monkeys, cookies, and bananas. That's been the theme.
So food is very important, but I'll tell you why it's important, because food affects the mind in a way nothing else does. Okay, and it's the most undermined thing. We think about music and we create a relation straight away. If you listen to nice peaceful music,
Just like sound vibration in general.
Yeah.
What we're speaking, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, all these things.
All these things, but it's obvious. Okay, we know that if you listen to rock music, you'll feel in a certain way. You know that when you listen to soft music, you will feel in a certain way. You know that when you watch a happy movie, you'll feel happy, and when you watch a sad movie, you'll feel sad. But the link we don't make is between food and the mind, and it's actually the strongest link.
Yeah.
So it is just like it's important to be aware of what you see and what you hear. It's also very, very important to be careful what goes into your mouth, because it affects your mind in a way that you don't even
very
realize.
subtle, isn't it? And it builds up over time as well. So it's interesting.
So you want to look up food that are in the mode of goodness.
You are what you eat, isn't it?
You are what you eat, literally. And if you don't know what that is, then you can ask Sanjana, and she'll send you a list of foods that are in the mode of goodness, and you want to eat those. And if you know how to offer it, then offer those foods and then eat them, and that'll make a big difference.
And if you don't know, ask Sanjana.
If you don't know, ask Sanjana. She'll tell you how to do it. So you see what we're trying to do here is we're trying to nurture the mind. We're trying to make sure that the mind gets its bit of satisfaction. We're also trying to make sure that the mind gets that satisfaction in the mode of goodness. And it's very, very important. The more mode of goodness things you do, the more quieter and peaceful your monkey will be.
Okay? Yes, and more cooperative.
The more cooperative. If you do more things in the mode of passion, then your monkey won't be cooperative. If you stick a chili inside your banana and feed your monkey, the monkey is not going to be very happy. It's going to jump around. So I'm just giving you an example for mode of passion. So you need to do things more that are in the mode of goodness to help train your chimp. And we'll finish on one last point. I've got another 10 points, but we don't have enough time. So we'll stick with one last point. And this is also very, very important. You know what is the difference between a human and an animal?
Oh, I love it.
It is said in the Vedas. Okay, you know what is the difference? Okay, the difference is about 5 seconds. Okay, there's not much difference between humans and animals. Srila Prabhupada explains like we all do eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, but the difference is about 5 seconds. When a dog sees a lamppost, what does the dog do? Okay, the dog wants to go and mark its territory. Okay, you can't stop a dog from not urinating on a lamppost. It's what a dog does. Okay, when a dog sees another female dog, then sniff, sniff. Okay, that's what a dog does. There's not much of a thought process there. Dogs work on instinct. But what differentiates is that humans can stop, think for 5 seconds, and then decide. Okay, so that 5 seconds is actually what makes a difference between a human and an animal, and that actually gives us a lot of strength. So the mind will definitely force you to do things. Okay, the mind will tell you, do this, I really want this, you should go for it. But stop for 5 seconds and think about it, and then do it or not do it.
And that's how you can strengthen your intelligence, just by doing that.
That's how you strengthen your intelligence. So basically what you're doing is you got your mind and intelligence, and you have to it needs to be on a balance. You can't just do everything with intelligence, because you do need emotion and action to drive things, and you can't just follow your mind everywhere, because then you'll end up doing things based on what feels good, but what may not necessarily be good for you. So mind and intelligence is like a balance. You have to train your mind with intelligence, but at the same time, you also have to nourish your mind by keeping the activities that you're doing more fun. You have to make the process of Krishna consciousness fun, and that is very, very important. So that's how you train your chimp. We got another 15 points, but that'll take another 2 hours. So maybe in another session we can go through that. But we can take, maybe, I don't know how late it is, we can take about 5 minutes of questions, or if you want to stop, we can stop.
So I have to go now, but maybe you can take the questions.
No.
But yeah, I have to go, but thank you all so much for having me. It was nice to meet you all, at least virtually, and I hope to be able to meet you all in person soon. So thank you so much. I got to run.
Thank you, Kishori.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
All right. Do we have any questions? What should we do?
Questions is good. If anyone has any questions, please unmute and you can ask RG the question.
Okay, no question.
Shivani, Payal, Ria, Karishma, anyone?
Nobody.
I actually loved everything that you said. I made a few, so I've scribbled a lot, but I highlighted a few points that I thought were really good. One of them was before the don't do's, do the do's, which I really liked. Something I learned also last week from Yogila's class was to get a higher taste. No, once you get a higher taste in something, you lose out on the other stuff, the materialistic stuff, maybe that could be maybe distracting in your spiritual life. And then I also liked what you said was look after the mind before you ask it to do the things. I think similar to what I just said before. And then make the process of bhakti fun. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's important. Otherwise, we're just thinking, oh, I want to achieve all these things. I want to read all these books and I want to attend all the possible Zoom classes that are happening out there, that you're focusing so much on the things that you want to learn that you forget how to have fun in this process. And then, of course, then maybe you could slip away from this Krishna conscious practice. So I think that's really important. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else wants to add anything? Any comments or questions?
Hi, Hare Krishna. I have a question. So you spoke about how we're supposed to eat foods that are in the mode of goodness, and I'm speaking about a strictly vegetarian diet here, of course. But then again, even in a vegetarian diet, there are some foods that are not in the mode of goodness, which is onion, garlic, mushrooms. So I understand the significance. I've heard about it a lot, but does it really make a very, very big difference? Is it as bad as meat eating? I mean, does it have the same effect on our mind or our progress in spirituality? If you could shed some light on that, maybe.
Sure. Thank you, Ria. Yeah, very good question. No, it's not the same, and it's not the same effect either. Basically, what we do there is an order as well. The types of food that we don't eat are generally 3 types of food. Um, First is food that cause violence. So that includes all the meat and fish and things where you have to kill an animal to eat. So that actually has the biggest impact, because in killing an animal, there's not just the effect that the food has on you, which is a mode of passion and ignorance, but also all the karma that comes along with it, also the consciousness of the animal, and there's so much stuff that goes into it. So obviously that's the top one which you want to avoid. Even in meat, especially when people are new to the process of Krishna consciousness, we tell them that first thing is to cut down on red meat, and then slowly you cut down other meats, and then fish and things like that. So yeah, so the first thing is food that causes violence. The second type of food which we don't eat, which is stage two, is food that is considered contaminated and or unclean, food that is unclean, and that's usually eggs. Okay, eggs fall under that category because we know what eggs are. So it's said to be unclean food. So, and it's that's also important, because sometimes people say, well, what's wrong with eggs? Eggs are not fertilized. So that's fine. Yeah, they're not fertilized, but they're considered unclean. So that's why eggs is also something we don't eat. And then further down the ladder, we have foods that are in the mode of ignorance, which is what you mentioned: onions, garlic, and mushrooms and things like that. Mushrooms are still debatable depending on where they grow and how they grow and things like that, but definitely onions and garlic. And they slow you down. Basically, they reduce your concentration, especially for a spiritual practice, and they really increase the mode of ignorance, which means that you're likely to, sorry, they increase the mode of ignorance within us. See, this mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance is very important to study. Every interaction you make, every single thing you do, you're being affected in a certain way, either goodness, passion, or ignorance, and this is building up in you. It's a bit like it's a bit like you're buying shares from a company. Which company are you buying shares from, or where are you investing it? Every interaction you make, you're giving away a little bit of freedom to that particular mode. If you have more interactions in the mode of goodness, if you eat more things that are in the mode of goodness, if you do things that are in the mode of goodness, you're giving away a little bit of free will to the mode of goodness. Because what it means is that when you have to make a decision, when you have to do something, you'll be more influenced by the mode of goodness, because that's how you've been interacting. If you do more things that are in the mode of passion, that means you're giving away a little bit of your free will to that particular mode, the mode of passion. And which means the mode of passion influences you, and the decisions you make and the things you do will be in the mode of passion. So we have to be very careful where we interact and how we do things. And obviously with onions and garlic, it's a mode of ignorance. And what it means is, even though directly they may not have such a big effect, you're not killing an animal, you're not like harming anybody, but it influences you, and which means it influences the decisions you make in your life. It influences you know in different areas of your life. It's very interesting. One of my friends, he was a monk, and he left early. He left after 2 or 3 years, and he wanted to learn to be a pilot. So he went to America to study, because in the US it's cheaper than in England. So what he did was, he came back after like 3 or 4 years, and he told me he had finished one course which was on flying with visual flying rules. So visual flying rules is when you have these small planes, like, I don't know if you've seen them. They're called Cessna and Piper, and the ones in which you sit and you look out of the window and then you fly those planes. So they're called flying with visual flying rules. So he had finished that course, and he had started training on flying planes with non-visual flying rules, which means it's a big planes that you fly from Dubai to the US, or your what's that airlines, Emirates Airlines. Okay, the bigger planes that take you everywhere across the world. So those planes, the way you fly them is, you don't look out of the window and fly, because you can't really see anything. The windows are just there, so the pilots don't get depressed. But you can't fly those planes by looking out the window. You have to fly from a screen. And he was explaining how landing in a big plane is one of the most difficult parts, because you're going so fast, you're going at like 300 miles an hour, you have to touch down, and there's like crosswinds and there's so many things, and you have to make like very instant decisions. And he said that when we were training for flying with non-visual flying rules, he said we were asked not to eat garlic for 24 hours before, because it slows down your reaction time. So it's not just a Vedic thing. Even in modern science, it kind of establishes that certain things slow the mind down. And so we take that a bit more seriously, though, because our daily practice is spiritual practice. So yeah, it's not on the same level. Obviously, it's the third one down the scale. But you may want to think about how it affects you. Obviously, if you have a little bit of garlic here and there, it's not a big deal. You're allowed to cheat. But yeah, it's not that bad. But if you're doing it consistently, then it may affect you in the long run.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. That really helped. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but yeah. Are there any
No, I
more?
think I really liked that scientific part that you all spoke about, because so it's not just the Vedic culture, but it's a lot of other scientific research behind it that also proves the same. So that really helped. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. All right, Sanjana, should we call it a day?
Yes. Thank you so much, RG. And thank Kishori once again for all your time today and for making it so easy for all of us to understand. I think there were some really, really good points that you touched upon. And I think, yes, everyone likes that, there's also some scientific evidence behind everything that we do in Krishna consciousness. It's not just coming from the scriptures, but there's a backing to everything that's stated in there, right? So I think everyone loves that, and in Bhakti Lounge, and I'm sure I think the youth community in general. So thank you so much once again, and hopefully maybe we have you again sometime at Bhakti Lounge.
Definitely.
And thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Bye.
Bye.